Cowboy head coach Mike Gundy pulled a flex, and he might have called the bluff from the Board of Regents. They said, you have till 5 o'clock. He said, you can take 5 o'clock and shove it. I am going to find a way to make this work. And Mike Gundy did, in fact, make that happen. So he's back. He slid in safe. Might have been a late night DM situation, but he's back as the Cowboys head man.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome into a live edition of over the weekend. Congratulations to Arizona State becoming Big 12 title champions. The score was a little wonky, but the game was still pretty fun to watch. As it pertains to Oklahoma State football, the news is in. It may have gone a little late into the night, but Mike Gundy did, in fact, find a way to reach an agreement, and he is back. The next question now is, what are the moves at offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, with Mike Gundy being back as the Cowboys head coach? Surely that means we're about to take a massive swing for the fences, but y'all didn't come on here today just to watch this face rock and roll the whole time. We've got some guests, and this is going to be wonderful for everybody because now with this particular individual, he's got a daughter that is now safe from having to go to OU. Jason Shermanator, how are we feeling today, brother, man? Obviously better than yesterday. You had Twitter Spaces on fire, buddy.
The tuition is safe for one more football season.
There we go. That's half the battle, man. Whenever you looked at this whole thing kind of transpiring, we knew it might take a little bit later into the night. For the most part, are you at least happy? We'll get into the nitty and gritty, but happy that obviously Mike Gundy is back to make this thing go some more.
I'm happy that he's still there, but I'm not happy in the manner that it happened yesterday.
It definitely could have been handled a little more gracefully, but at the same point in time, it is a done deal. Now we can talk a little bit more. I know Reagan has been doing a lot of things, getting a lot of things prepared, and so now we get to bring him into the fold today. Reagan, likewise, I know you're happy as well. I've been reading some of the articles that you've been kind of putting out recently. Appreciate all that you do for Oklahoma State country. You're a happy camper as it sits right now, yeah?
I don't know if you would say necessarily happy because I with what Jason said, I think the way that it all went down was really, really difficult, especially as someone that was kind of in the fold of it all and watching all the sources come in and who they were coming from was really kind of scary. Yeah, actually.
It's a wild time. It was a wild ride.
Yeah, but that aside, I'm happy Mike Gundy is staying. I think it was the right decision, unless you had some home run guarantee hire, which I don't think inevitably happened.
Right.
And not just that, but also just for the stability of it all. You're 2 days away from the transfer portal. If you go out and get a head coach, everyone's going to leave. You're going to have nobody, and you're going to have a roster freshman next year, and it's just going to be chaos. A decision like this. Yeah, a decision like this would need to have been made at like week 10 and known by the program and already seeking coordinators and things like that. So I think it was the right decision to keep Gundy. I don't like the way that the Board of Regents went about it, though.
We obviously should have handled it a little bit differently, especially from the aesthetics purposes. Now we'll bring in Trent. Trent, kind of mirroring everybody that has talked about it thus far. How do you feel overall about how it ended up and the optical view of it all as it went down yesterday?
Honestly, like you guys said, I'm just happy that it's over. I think it brought a lot of negative attention to Oklahoma State University and the football program. So more so, I'm just happy that it's done with. I'm happy that Gundy and the university could come to an agreement on something. I'm very interested to see how the contract was restructured and how much money he is giving up for the sake of the program and the university. But I'm also very thrilled. You know, Mike Gundy's a guy through and through, loyal and true, and I think he just proved it big time to Cowboy country.
Well, that's definitely undeniable, and that was something that I think we did talk a little bit about on the Spaces. Mike Gundy does talk a lot about the loyal and true nature, and I do think that this accentuates that he's definitely at least bought into rewriting the wrongs that happened this season. Now, Jason, that we're kind of hearing some sprinkling out about the potential new contract deal. Do you think that the shavings down to $6.75 million and the reduction from $25 million to $15 million, do you think that works in everybody's favor for the most part?
interesting term, shavings down from $8 million to 6.75. $1.25 million is a lot of money to anybody, including Mike Gundy. It's around, I mean, I'm not a mathematician, but it's around 18 to 20% of his contract, what he's going to receive next season. That would hurt anybody. If anybody lost close to 20% of their income like that overnight just to keep your job, that would hurt. I think that there's been some rumblings around that money can somehow be funneled back down to the NIL. I've talked to some people in our collective, and they say that that's absolutely illegal. That money can be funneled back to the university. They could use it for like coordinator salaries or something, but in no way, shape, or form can that specific $1.25 million be funneled into the NIL.
Yeah, I don't think – I think maybe the verbiage was a little bit off. I don't think it was meant to be something along the lines of actually taking the money and giving it to NIL. I think just in general, if there was going to be money freed up left over from this contract, that we could utilize it elsewhere. Obviously, NIL or recruiting budget could be something that's massively benefited by all this. All right, Reagan, whenever you're kind of thinking about what now is to happen in the future, what do you think about the deal down to 6.75 from 8 million and cutting the deficit from 25 mil down to 15 mil? How do you think this works in Mike Gundy's favor moving forward?
Well, I'd hope that in the details we find out if the rollover got removed, because I think that's like the biggest thing for me. The buyout was cut down, which I actually think is the most significant. You can look at the 6-7 million or whatever. The biggest thing is that the buyout was reduced. And when it comes to the NIL thing, by the way, I just want to make sure that what was really this got contorted, because I brought it up a little bit too. At the Board of Regents meeting, something that was talked about is how much money they would come in to go all in on the transfer portal and recruiting. And a part of that was, well, how much money are we going to have to put towards a potential buyout, right? Yeah. So the money that was going to go towards a buyout, which is the top 10 donors or something proposed, like, I don't know, I don't have an exact number, please don't quote me on this, but anywhere from like 9-15 million or something ridiculous, right? Now that gets to go to NIL. That's a big deal. That gets to go to the portal. That gets to go to coordinator salaries. These are significant things. And, I don't think we're going to get Zach Robinson, but if he didn't really like the NFL, if he ever wanted to come back to Oklahoma State, we would not have enough money to be able to incentivize him to potentially do something like that. I don't think we're going to get him again. But my point in that is that we now, because of what Gundy did, because of the cut that he took, and because we're not doing a buyout, we have a lot of money that these donors have said that they were going to spend anyway to play with, which is a really big deal.
That was always kind of my point, though, Cody, is if we were going to pony up the money, there was a bunch of speculation out there about specific donors pony up specific amounts. $13.5 million was brought up by maybe Chad Richardson. To me, it sounds personal towards Mike Gundy. If you're going to pony up that kind of money to get rid of him, just pony up that money and put it into the program and let the guy that's been doing this for 20 years at a very successful rate, give him the resources to go do what he needs to do.
Well, guys, even me, right, and I talked about this on a different podcast last night, it doesn't really matter what side of the camp you fall in. If you were part of the camp that, Mike Gundy should be here till death do everybody part, or if you were on the side of the spectrum that Mike Gundy needed to go elsewhere right now and make room, so on and so forth, I do not think that there's anybody out there that really would like to see Mike Gundy go out on a 3-9 season. And I think that for that very reason alone, I think most of Cowboy country is going to be happy that this ordeal is done. And something that I don't think is going to be talked about enough, so we'll hit it here. I think the biggest thing here is that Mike Gundy may have had his ego checked a little bit at the door. At the end of the day, the Board of Regents, obviously, we're not going to stick by that 5 p.m. Deadline. And it was nice to see Mike Gundy kind of push back to some degree. As Jason would like to say, Mike Gundy said, I ain't taking that deal. My name's Ricky Bobby. I'm going to get my balls back. And that's exactly Ricky what happened, even if it's sprinkled on late into the night. Now, from an optical perspective, I think all three of you have talked about how it was not a good look for Oklahoma State University. I understand from my particular perspective, it's damn sure not a good look to have that 5 p.m. deadline, right? I think out of all of it, that was the dumbest situation because it was a lose-lose, right? Putting Mike Gundy in that position after 35 years of service was never going to be the right way to go about it. But at the same time, I do think that it made Mike Gundy realize that he is going to have to be a little bit more cooperative at times and perhaps, he doesn't feel as untouchable as perhaps before. What do you gentlemen have to say about that particular aspect of it?
Well, I want to say that back to what Jason said about the NIL. Yeah, I'm curious who put that out there, because that is true. There's no way that we can put that money towards NIL. I just kind of figured it would go towards recruiting. I mean, I know you've talked about it before, Cody. Was it last year it came out? We have like the lowest recruiting budget in the Big 12. So
by far.
And I know what's up?
By far.
Yeah, and I know Cody or someone had said that number wasn't accurate, which I don't think it was, but I do believe that we probably had the lowest budget for recruiting in the Big 12. So like every dollar counts. So that's huge for Oklahoma State if we can put more money into it, because like you said, to answer about the Gundy thing, I really think, like, in my opinion, that this could be huge for Mike Gundy. This could be huge for the university, because like I said it in Spaces last night. I've said it all along. Guys, when Gundy's on, he's one of the best coaches in the country, like hands down.
Yeah.
When he is 100% bought in and he's there and he's doing it, he's a phenomenal coach. No one will tell you otherwise. If they do, they don't know ball, because that is facts. So I think maybe this will kind of be a wake-up call for Gundy in a sense. Like, okay, you know what? Maybe in the past I've said some things I shouldn't have said, or done some things that I shouldn't have done, or, treated players a certain way, whatever it is. Like, I think this could be huge for Mike Gundy, and I'm just super excited. Like, I'm glad that they worked it out. I wasn't 100% sure about that 5 p.m. deadline. I had talked to Jason on the phone earlier.
Yeah.
And was kind of like, that seems super wonky for a university to say that to your most winningest coach in program history. That makes no sense. You're going to give him 7-8 hours to decide, what he wants to do, what his future is going to be. That's not right. I figured, honestly, I didn't think we would hear anything until Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday of next week. So the fact that we're hearing today, that in the early hours of this morning, that the contract got, figured out, like I said, that's super exciting. And, I'm sure you know more about, the contract than I do, Cody, or what the numbers are going to be. But I'm very excited to hear, what they came up with, what the university and Mike Gundy's team came up with to move on.
I think it's less about
how it takes out from a financial perspective. But what do you think from the angle of Mike Gundy just doing the deal to get everybody essentially off of his back? But now that it's kind of out of the way, what do you think his focus is going to be looking into the next season?
Well, real quick too, I do want to say one more thing before Reagan or Jason go on. I think we're going to go after, a good OC and a good DC. I'm really excited to see who that's going to be, because obviously, guys, it's not going to be a D2 or D3. Like, I think we can all agree, like, Gundy's going to be going after someone good. So I'm curious to see who it's going to be, and it's going to be exciting. So So go ahead. I'm sorry.
What was the question, Cody?
Well, do you think that it was a good thing at the end of the day that we got it worked out, but Mike Gundy potentially might have this moment where he's checked a little bit on him being completely invincible? How do you expect him to turn that into a positive moving into this coming season? I see you cheesing over there. You don't have that good.
Jason and I are gonna think the same thing. I don't think anything was checked. In fact, I think if anything, I think the Board of Regents proved his point that they can't do anything to him.
They might be able to touch his money, but they can't fire him.
Yeah, that's the point. And they probably could fire him in theory, but the point is that he clearly proved that you guys are too scared to get rid of me. And that's fine. I think that we are. And it's fine to admit that, because I think the reality is, and Oklahoma State fans need to wake up to this fact, that the chances of us getting a next Mike Gundy are as high as our chances of getting the next Les Miles. And our chances of getting the next Mike Gundy after the next Les Miles are significantly lower. And I hope that people who know our history understand what I'm saying when I say that we could go out and get a great coach right after Mike Gundy, and he could do great for 3 years. He's gone. No one is staying at Oklahoma State like Mike Gundy has. The chances of us getting a Lance Leipold, very low. We're not going to get another Gundy, and he knows that we know that. And the truth is this, we all think, and I think everyone here knows, and all the players that I have ever talked to have said the same thing. I like Gundy, Dunn is the problem. And the reality is that Casey Dunn is gone. And you got rid of Nardo, which I was 50-50 on, by the way. I think he got a lot of the flack for stuff that was primarily not – a lot of it wasn't his fault to me because he had his entire roster injured. There was issues in the secondary dating back 3 years ago that he was trying to resolve. I think the secondary's coach probably should have gone before Nardo, but that's a whole different conversation. You get new coordinators. He gets a chance, one last chance, in my opinion, to sit down. Here's who we're bringing in. Reset and prove how damn good of a coach he is, because he is a good coach and he's going to be able to make things happen if he has the right guys around him. And now we're going to have this influx of incredible, never in his coaching career amount of cash since Boone Pickens. So I think it's going to be a big deal, and I'm excited to see what he does. And I think that we're going to see the old Mike Gundy, because I don't think this was the wake-up call. I think going 3-9, 0-9 conference play, sitting in the press conference in the last game of the season and saying, I don't know how we played that bad. That's a wake-up call.
Hopefully, it should find itself some credence this season. All right, Cheesy McGee, go ahead. What do you got? Fill us in.
It just boggles my mind how our fan base always thinks that we need to check Mike Gundy. Last I checked, Mike Gundy was paid $7.75 million before this new contract to be the head coach of this football program. Now, whether you or I or Jared or whoever that's in this chat, no matter how much we care about Oklahoma State or how much we want this place to be successful, I can promise you Michael Ray Gundy wants it to be even more successful. It's his livelihood. It's his life's work. You don't ever hear on ESPN, oh, man, they got to check Saban over there at Bama. They got to check Dabo over there at Clemson.
Well,
he's the head guy. He's the head guy. You either have to let him run his program or you fire him. There's no in between. He
has a point there. He does.
We're letting him run his program.
Can I finish my statement?
Sure. Go ahead. Spit it out.
Why do we have this notion that as a fan base or as the board of regents, unless he's doing something that's absolutely detrimental to the university? Yeah, we went 3-9 this year. Whipped he freaking do. He also won 10 games and went to the conference championship last year, and won 12 games and went to the conference championship game 2 years before that. So unless he's doing something super detrimental to our program, you have to either A, let him coach and run the program, or B, fire him. There's no in between. You don't want a handicapped coach.
So hold on, Jason. You don't think that Mike Gundy's ego got a little too big to fit inside Boone Pickens Stadium at one point?
Everybody that's successful like Mike Gundy has an ego. Do you not think Nick Saban has the
I know everybody
giant
has an
ego on the planet?
Hey,
Bill Belichick has a giant ego.
Let's not compare Gundy to Saban. Gundy is great.
Why?
But Gundy is not a Saban. Nick Saban, he's not.
But Nick Saban, Bill Belichick.
Well, he's not comparing the greatness of the coaches. He's comparing the situations.
And I get it. I understand, and
to our program, that's what Michael Gundy is, dude.
I agree. I think to our program, he is like the Nick Saban, because what Gundy has taken us to isn't. I mean, we've never been. So, yeah. But I think ever since since the university gave Mike Gundy that ludicrous contract, Gundy has all the power. Kind of like Reagan said earlier, kind of like what you were saying, Jason. Like, whether or not we think it was good, or if Gundy was just proving his point, like, he has all the power. It doesn't matter. It's on the university, and I see fans bitch and moan, pardon my French, about some of the fans that wanted Gundy gone, but it's not that easy, guys. When your university gives a head coach that kind of a contract, basically just that repeats itself every year and gets better and better, you're basically SOL. Like, there's nothing unless you have the funds to do it.
Who gave him that contract, Trent?
Say what?
Who gave him that contract?
Was it Holder?
It was the university. It doesn't matter who the AD was.
The AD was Wider.
That's the one that did the 5-year revolving, I believe.
God.
Okay. Yeah. So what? Chad's been AD for how many years now? He took over 3 years ago.
6.
Has it been 5 already?
No.
I was going to say no way. He was the AD and waiting.
He got the extension in 21. I believe 20 or 21. It was 21.
Okay.
It was after
so to me, this whole situation seems like the university feels like, or maybe this new board of regents, because don't quote me because I don't know, but what I've been told by some donors over the last 24 hours is the board of regents has been shuffled around over the last 24 months pretty drastically. And a lot of these guys are STIT appointees, specifically the chair of the board. So sounds to me like this new board said, y'all entered into a bad deal and we're going to do whatever it takes to get out of it. I'm not cool with that. I'm not cool with that.
I think anybody saying Mike Gundy did not need to be checked is it's slightly mind blowing too.
I
Cody-
think the ones of y'all that think he needed to be checked are the ones he was talking about in his press conference and called y'all poor and losers.
Cody,
Probably.
That's just the way I feel about it.
You're
If I
probably
may.
right. And Mike Gundy, I think genuinely felt that way, which is part of the reason that he was in the
100%
predicament
he feels
that he
that
felt
way.
yesterday.
100.
Gundy doesn't say things he doesn't mean.
Nope.
But I'm kind of in between you guys.
No, when he says he watches film, he don't mean it. There ain't no way you can
God.
watch the last 4 years of this offense and say, you know what, that's good enough to bring back. Let me keep doing that.
No, basically,
No, it isn't that.
We got out coached.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
I think there's
Schemes
two
are bad.
sides to this, guys. On one hand, yes, Gundy's ego needed to be checked, and I think on the other hand, though, it's the reality of having Mike Gundy as a coach. This is his style. This is who he is. He's not going to change. And I think the point that Jason has, I think, is 100% correct, is if you want him to be your head coach, there's a way that he's going to go about things that you need to let him operate as. I think he had the wrong coordinators. For some reason, he had a broken arm that he wasn't willing to go get a cast on with Casey Dunn. He's gone. We forced him to get rid of him. Now, let him get some new faces in. If it's a mess again, then you know, okay, maybe Gundy's kind of past his time. That's fine. But you got the buyout reduced, which is the important thing. So it's not going to kill your university if you decide, okay, he's got to go. So that is a win out of this. Secondly, though, now you get to get new coordinators and you get to prove what is wrong, the scientific method in a way. You get to prove who was the problem. Was it Gundy, or was it for some reason the fact that he couldn't get rid of Casey Dunn, even though we all knew he was a problem for years? So what is the problem here? We're about to find out, and whatever coordinators we go with, it sounds like it's going to be more of a decision between Gundy and the university than it has in the past, which is nice. But we'll see. I think that Jason is correct, though, that it's either we let Gundy kind of be who Gundy is and has made him successful for, what are we at, 20 years, and churned a program that had 3 winning seasons or 10 winning seasons before he came here and has had 8 since he became coach. Let him operate. Let's see what he can do one last time. If it doesn't work out, you got the buyout reduced and you can make a decision from there.
Well, I think we can all agree if OSU has a season next year like they did this year.
Well, they won't. They're not going to. It's not going to happen.
No. I mean, if you would have told me before this season that OSU would go 0-9 in conference play, I would say it's not going to happen, Reagan. So don't say it's not going to happen.
I'm telling you, I put my mortgage on the fact
I put my mortgage on OSU
season.
getting over 7.5 wins this year, and it fucked me. So I don't want to.
Hey, Arizona State went 3-9 last year.
Don't use that word.
Yeah, no, like, hey, I'm a Gundy support. Like, I want us to do good, obviously. Like, I can't, like, after that Utah game, and I'll say the Kansas State game this year, like, I just got so turned off of college football just because we were so bad. Like, it just wasn't even fun to watch. I just don't know how. Y'all can tell me if I'm off base, but I just don't know how this relationship has ever mended. I think the path has already been started to
winning.
Get rid of Mike Gundy.
That's how.
Yeah. Okay. So say you win for the next 2 years, and then you go 5-7 the third year, they're going to fire him. I mean,
it's fine. If the rollover contract is over, it's going to be a friendlier send off. He's not going to go 3-9 again. I'm telling you, he learned. He's not going to go 3-9.
I agree. I'm just saying the first opportunity they have, and it's hard to coach like that. It's hard to live your life looking over your shoulder that, hey man, one little thing, and this Board of Regents already don't care for me. And then furthermore, if that's the dynamic that Oklahoma State football is going to be, what top level offensive and defensive coordinators are going to come coach in that situation? Knowing that I may not have a job next year if this doesn't work out and we go 5-7, we're all gone.
Well, Texas operates fine under that method, so
that's
you know. I know. My point is though, there's plenty of successful
Texas
universities
has money
that
though,
do that.
bud.
Sure they have money, but my point in the matter is that I don't think that it's as big of a deal in terms of getting a future coach because we have one literally sitting ready to go in the future if he doesn't get an NFL coaching job in the next 3 years. So
let's say he does though. Who do we go after?
Then it's a tough. We'll figure it out.
It's
way ahead of ourselves.
Calm your titals. Calm your titals. That is what we're going to get into next. Is some of the names that we should be paying attention to. Who you guys are most excited about in terms of who could potentially come in to be the new OC in DC. And this surely means that we're going to take the biggest swing physically possible. At least it feels that way. You guys will have to let me know more around the corner. But before we do that, we got to remind the fine folks out here that you don't have to stress about your phone coverage anymore. You got to get mobile, agile, and hostile, especially with Mint Mobile. It is super simplistic for you to get premier coverage now for as little as $15 a month. If you didn't think you could get the best in the business for $15 a month, you surely can now with Mint Mobile. Make sure that you get squared away today with the best in the business when it comes to you finding the next plan in the entire world that's going to be the best for you. Make sure that you get squared away today with mintmobile.com/lockedon. Go there today. Cut your wireless bill down to $15 a month with premium service from a company that you can rely on and you can trust. Get with Mint Mobile today. Get that $15 plan started. They have the first 3 months today for $15 a month. Make sure that you go to mintmobile.com today. All right, fellas, now we'll kind of roll into the conversation about the coordinator spot, right? I think one of the most common names that has been brought up is Brennan Marion over at UNLV. Maybe they did kind of poop the bed the other day, but he's a Tulsa, Oklahoma boy that has the Dana Holgorsen kind of pedigree that's come up. I see you shaking your head over there. We have some other names like maybe Marcus Arroyo, but he did just get a 3-year contract extension with Arizona State. Could we afford to get a Marcus Arroyo? Then you have Joe Craddock over there at Tulane. Obviously, Zach Robinson is going to be up there in the top echelon of the premier names that we'd love to get. Where do you guys kind of land here? Who are some of the names that you wish we would go get? And at the end of the day, do you think that this means no matter what, we are going to swing for the fences and try to land somebody big here? Jason, what are you thinking, brother?
Well, before we'll talk about all these candidates, but the main thing that I think should be the top priority to Mike Gundy and this staff or this administration is you have to force Zach Robinson to tell you no. You don't go with it. You don't go to him and try to play hardball or try to get him on the cheap. You figure out what your best package is, whether that's, hey, Gundy says he's got 4 years left. We want to bring you in as a head coach in waiting. We can give you $2.5 million a year to start. Come be the OC. We want you to take JW under your wing. We'll make him we'll make him the receivers coach or whatever we decide to do. Get him ready to be your OC whenever you take over. Swing for the fences. Make him tell you no. The Brennan Marion thing, I know he's an Oklahoma kid. Great story out there in UNLV. Too gimmicky of an offense to me. I've watched some film on that. I just don't really think that offense fits in this league. You could probably win some games, but it's too gimmicky to me. I don't know much about the Craddock guy, but I would throw all my eggs into the Zach Robinson basket and make him tell you no.
So what
and make it hard for him to tell you no.
I absolutely love that. We may not have agreed on everything thus far in the first 28 minutes, but dude, I think that is spot on. You have to make Zach tell you no. All right, Trent, what do you got, bud? What are you thinking?
Honestly, guys, I'm not gonna say who I think it is because Gundy always goes with someone who we didn't even have on our radar. So I just enjoy hearing what people who people think we're gonna get, but I just feel like it's gonna be someone that we aren't expecting at all. That's what
I just hope we don't have to Google the name when it comes out.
Well, right, and I think you both accentuate a very good point here. It sounds like from the terminology we heard yesterday that there is going to be some contractual limitations on Mike Gundy being able to kind of do whatever he wants to some degree with the hires of the OCDC. And again, I think that might be why I'm asking the question. If those parameters are accurate, that means that he has to kind of swing for the fences, right? Wouldn't you?
Cody, let me ask you this. You had mentioned Arroyo. Why, in my opinion, why would Arroyo want to leave what he's got going on now to come after seeing all the media stuff with OSU in the last 2 days? Why would he want to leave what he has now to come back here? Is my question. So what?
I mean, he just got a 3-year extension.
That's what I'm saying.
Can I interject here? I'm just going to be honest, guys. Nobody cares what happened in the media except the media. Nobody cares. The fans and the media care. If you read the comments, the only people that cared were casuals that were saying, well, why would Oklahoma State do this? Players don't care. They're going to come and see the facilities. They're going to say, well, the head coaches are here and you've got 2 awesome coordinators. All right, I'm coming to Oklahoma State. That it doesn't matter. It will be gone in the wind in 2 weeks. Portal will be all over the place, and that's all we'll be talking about. It's not it doesn't matter that much. I think people are blowing out what happened over the last couple of days out of proportion in terms of how it will impact decisions on who does and who doesn't come to Oklahoma State. Gundy's here. He still has a long-term contract, and he's still the guy. So I don't think it's going to impact that much.
No, that's fine. And I agree with you with the players. As long as the head coach is still there, then yeah, for sure. But I'm just saying in the sense of Arroyo just won a conference championship. I'm not sure what his contract was, but
that might be the most
comment is
accurate comment we've had today, Cody.
Hey, Jason, get out of here. Get him out of the stream.
You know what? I'm gonna leave it up there. Why?
That's my burner account. My bad, Cody.
Hey, at the end of the year, we give out stupidity awards. So
Oh my God.
hey,
that might be Mr. Bennett.
It's
Based-
pokes.
I'm floored.
Sean
I'm
Bennett,
floored
pay this man his money.
You know where to
I
find me,
tried-
John. Give me my money.
I tried to give him start that fun today, Trent.
That was
Start that fun
hilarious.
today.
Yeah.
But I'm over here reading some of these comments, and the thing that blows my mind in this whole situation is that we have such a fractured fan base right now. It's almost like we're back to the Civil War days when I first got on Twitter, when we were going through the whole players were quitting and everybody was leaving, and that's when I got
When
on.
Jason made his name on Twitter X, basically.
Right.
Jason made his name.
Or X, whatever. But anyway, we got this fractured fan base over here, and you got some people saying, they're in my camp. They're the Mike Gundy, let him do his job or firing type deal. Then you got all these people like Logan and Andrew Petty and all these guys over here that are commenting, and they think it was a win that the Board of Regents pulled this bull shiznit that they pulled yesterday. I think it's a bad look for the university all the way around. You do that crap in private, because if you'll do that to your 20-year tenured, when you do that to your 20-year tenured head coach, you'll do that to a guy that's been here for 3 years. It's not a good look at all whatsoever.
The 5 o'clock deadline, I think, was a bad look.
Terrible.
Well, okay, the 5 o'clock deadline is fine if it was private, but it wasn't. That whoever let that get out, and I was one of the people that got the source. Whoever let that get out you should no longer be on the Board of Regents. Period. End of discussion. That is between Gundy and you. That doesn't get out. There's things you tell the media, and that's why there needs to be structure on, hey, what are we going to tell these guys? And there needs to be a list of things. You can't keep having we're independent journalists are having to go out and figure out what's actually going on and find out a bunch of stuff that you don't want getting out. And then the bad news gets out. And then Gundy has to go and defend himself and give something to Pete Thamel. It's just it's an absolute joke that never should have got out. The deadline was the biggest problem with the whole thing.
Dude, you got to give props to Gundy, RA, whomever that was that put that stuff out, because the national outcry definitely worked.
Yeah.
It was me.
You gotta give props. Honestly,
It was me. I got Pete on speed dial.
I was gonna say, I think we all know who it was that put it out.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
I heard there was
The guy
trouble
who
in
wasn't
Stillwater, and I had
saying
they put the old bat symbol out, and they called me in and they said, "Hey, get hold of Pete."
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
it's obvious because
without
dead silence from the guy, not saying anything anywhere, no articles or anything, and suddenly Pete Thamel, big ol' ESPN breaking news. We all know who it was. Come on, guys.
I think they should have called Thayer Evans
yesterday.
Yeah, whoever put that tweet out about Thayer Evans said.
They should have called Thayer Evans and let him break that story.
That was hilarious. That was a good tweet. That was a really good tweet.
I agree. The only thing that I think was the biggest negative out of the whole ordeal was the 5 o'clock thing. And the reason why I think it was a phenomenal move was because without a move like this, Gundy was never going to change anything. And he was likely going to go possibly hire another D2, D3 guy and try to rebuild that away. And I do think that even though Mike Gundy won in the end, he does realize that he cannot say certain things while also being 3-9. Go ahead, Budro.
So my main question to all that is if it was even an option that we were going to give Mike Gundy this ultimatum, and knowing that if, how it was probably going to go down is about the way it went down, and they might have to stick to their guns and fire the guy, why would they even go through the public humiliation for Casey Dunn and Brian Nardo of publicly firing them before they hashed all the stuff out with Gundy? Why would they do that? Because if it had gone bad yesterday and they had to fire Gundy, that would have insinuated that those coordinators were gone anyway. And then you went through all that for no reason, and you damaged their reputations for no reason. To me, this all sounds personal.
Well, and as said before, guys, I still firmly believe that it was always going to be in Mike Gundy's best interest to kind of make this work, right? For one, to erase the 3-9 season, get that bad taste out of everybody's mouth, including his own, right? Because that's really the only glaring mark on his legacy in the totality of the time that he's been the head coach at Oklahoma State. So, I mean, I do completely understand. Now, we haven't really talked about names per se, and that's fine. We can kind of skedaddle off of that. No, it's good. Is there a defensive name that you guys strategically think that we should go after? The name I hear the most is Brian Smith, defensive coordinator at Rice. But as other people have mentioned earlier, if that's true, that's not a big enough name. That's not a big enough shakeup. Do you guys agree with that sentiment? If you go and get somebody from Rice, that really isn't a whole lot better than going D2, D3 realm, or do you guys think that the name matters more than where they're from currently?
The Houston Chronicle just reported 3 days ago or 2 days ago that he was staying on the staff with the new coach, that he was already, like, the contract negotiations or whatever were already underway, and he was going to stay on staff.
Yeah, so
my dream scenario, I'll let you go in just a second, but my dream scenario would be if Jim Knowles was looking for a change of address. If you could bring in Zach Robinson and Jim Knowles this offseason, a lot of this stuff's going to be forgotten in September.
Oh yeah, dude! If you bring in Zach Robinson and Jim Knowles, I will bet the house that we're gonna go to Arlington next season, right?
Yeah.
These next two hires will, I think you just nailed it on the head. The next two hires will completely wash away all of the bad taste of 3-9 if it's done right. But again, if you go get somebody that is viewed as too low of a level, do you think that hurt some of the excitement coming into next season? And this is for anybody. Anybody can jump in on this one here.
Trent, go ahead. You've been a minute.
Oh no, go ahead. You're fine.
Okay. Brian Smith, by the way, and I reported on this a few days ago before all the chaos with Gundy went down. This guy has experience with Michigan, and I think that's a really big deal. I think it's a huge deal. We don't have a guy that has been like DB prominent in our university. We mainly go after guys with linebacker, D-line. That's fine. Our biggest problem for years has been DB. And the problem with the conference we're in is the DB is arguably the most important position on defense. And Brian Smith is proficient in that. And he's taken a team like Rice and made them relevant defensively. Their best season since 1999. Like, this is a guy that has kind of proven his marks. I don't think the name matters. Nobody knew who the flip Jim Knowles was. And then he comes in and ends up being one of the best defensive coordinators, if not the best in college football. I don't think Jim Knowles is going to leave Ohio State. If he does, we're going to have to give him a lot of money like we should have originally. So
maybe Ohio State will do something stupid like we almost did yesterday.
Well, dude, I'm telling you, you have a point, though. I was going to say the only way Jim Knowles comes back is Ryan Day gets fired and they're looking to clear out house, and Jim Knowles says, 100%. I'm good. Here's the thing I think is important. You need to get one big name hire. So you go one side where it's an experimental guy that you're excited for, young like a Brian Smith or a Marion. I don't necessarily know if Marion's the right guy. The other dude, you pour the bucket on, you pour the cash in, and you tell him, hey, you're Mike Gundy's protege. We know he's probably got 4 to 5 years maximum left or whatever Gundy is telling them, and he's going to teach you everything he knows. And that is Zach Robinson, 1A, or Jim Knowles, 1B. I think those are the two guys that you look at doing that with. Jim Knowles, I don't know how he'd perform as a head coach. He's kind of old, so there's that. But at the same time, you bring a guy in, and the way that you bring him in is saying you're going to be the future head coach of Oklahoma State, and you get to learn from one of the greats for 3 years. I think that's a part of the proposal.
Wow. I don't like Jim Knowles for a head coach in waiting situation, though, because he is a little older.
Yeah,
sure. He's a little older.
Dude, Todd Monken.
Yeah, he ain't leaving the Ravens unless it's head coach.
Give him the bag. Tell him listen. Give him the bag. Obviously, it would be very hard to pry him away from Baltimore, but if you tell him that he's a head coach in waiting in a couple years, I don't know. He did say way back when the only places he would come back to college for were OSU and Georgia for head coaching. So I don't know if Gundy only has 4 years left, maybe the time is now. I mean, if it's not likely, but if you're gonna try to get him, it would be right now or after the NFL season.
I don't know.
I would love to have Todd Monken as our next head coach. Like, that guy, he's a boss.
Yeah. I agree with what Blanket down there. I agree with what Blanket's comment there. Pay whoever it is. Pay the
Jason.
damn coaches.
Correct.
That was what I was going to get to next. So when you talk about some of the guys like even Marcus Arroyo, Casey Dunn was making over $1 million. He's making over $1 million. Jake Spavital at Baylor makes $1 million. Most of these good offensive coordinators or upper echelon coordinators are going to cost a minimum of $1 million a year. Do you guys anticipate with everything that transpired over the last 48 hours that is something that we fully intend on doing? That's something that I think that I feel like I'm seeing is that we're not going to try to, mess around with $350K a year. We're going to pay real money right away. Are you guys feeling the same sentiment?
What Jim Knowles
we wouldn't have done all this.
Jim Knowles go to Ohio State for, Trent? Do you know how much money did Jim Knowles go to Ohio State for?
$3 million, 3.5, somewhere around there.
Well, I mean,
3.5 a year.
No, I think it was like 2.3, wasn't it? Because we were like 1.6, 1.7.
Let me look. Let me confirm this. Hold on. He's one of the highest paid coordinators in
okay, so if we're gonna
spit
spit his name out,
I'm so sorry. I think I was way off on this.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right.
1.9 million per year. Okay. I must have been reading about his buyout. 1.9 million. So
I was thinking somewhere around $2 to $2.5 million a year. If you want to go pry somebody away from a program, you got to be willing to pay about $2.5 million, up to $2.5 million a year per coordinator, in my opinion.
I was thinking
it's 2.2 this year, by the way.
Yes,
2.2 this year officially.
Be prepared to dump 2.5 if you want to be serious.
And go get the. Why would OSU go through all this with Mike Gundy if they weren't serious about pouring money into getting good coordinators? That's what I'm saying. That's the only way. So someone was saying a second ago, going after the Rice coordinator, that's not big enough. If we're gonna go, if OSU is serious with Gundy about, hey, go hire good people, we'll get the money, we'll back you, get good coordinators. We're gonna go after someone bigger, and that's why I was saying I don't want to say any names because I feel like it's going to be two guys that none of us have been talking about.
I'm disagreeing with you guys here. I am. I think that you go after one good name and you leave the other as a young shot. And my reason for that is you've got to have money left over for the portal. You've got to have money left over for NIL. And if you go after Jim Knowles, you are not going to have the money to go out and get Zach Robinson and still operate in the portal. It's just not going to be a thing. I think you go out and you get one guy and you invest a crap load of money into one side of the ball in the portal and you build from there. And you have a lot of young guys on the offense. I think the defense should be the focus with the portal.
Well, that was what I was going to ask. Jason, do you have a preference if we were if we did that? Say we went with a somewhat experimental. Okay, so you think
defense big shot? Yeah, 100%.
What do you think?
If it's defense, if it's big shot, you want defense, Reagan?
Yeah, defense wins championships. That's a fact.
Me too, but that's not going to be sexy enough for this program. I'm not defending what Casey Dunn did, but we literally played in 2 Big 12 championships with him calling plays.
That's my point.
Our offense didn't rank high enough, so our fan base wanted him gone.
Well, that's my point.
That's sexy enough.
I don't care if it's sexy. What wins football games?
I don't either. But the rest of the fan base damn sure does.
I don't care what the fan base thinks. I guess that's my opinion. I care what donors think. What do donors think?
Easy now. They're going to start thinking you're calling them certain things, and you might start losing
What do donors think? That's what matters. What do donors think? And if we're winning football games, that's what they care about. And I think that a big defensive coordinator gives you the best chance at that.
I agree.
And offense, there are so many offensive coordinators out there that are more competent than Casey Dunn. Probably 110 of them. Okay, so it's not that difficult to find.
But I do disagree with you
$1 million
about the money part. I disagree a little bit about the money part. If the reports are true, and I'm not saying that I know 100% or not, I have. Hey, my views are my views and my views only. They're not expressed by Oklahoma State University, and I have no inside sources. But if the report is true that Chad Richardson was willing to pony up $13.5 million to fire Mike Gundy, you take that 13.5, you take the 1.25 a year that Gundy just gave up, and you have enough money right there to pay 2 coordinators top dollar for about 4 years. And then if it doesn't work out in that 4 years, probably one of them is going to get a coaching job anyway in that 4-year period. And if it don't work out, you're firing the whole bus, and now you're paying a head coach $3.5 to bring somebody in that's super young.
That's totally
if you're complaining about Gundy's performance, throw the bag at it. Give him every resource that he needs to go try to win in this NIL period and see if he can get it done. And if he can't, fire him.
The problem, though, you got to remember is, you have a basketball coach that's going to be demanding resources soon, too. So
Steve Luck's got to win games before we worry about resources for him.
sure, but my point is that it's not all about football, though it should be, honestly, if you're going to be smart as Oklahoma State, because football will bring you the money for everything else.
Don't be logical. Don't be logical.
Hey, sorry. I'm saying that if you the question was, if we had to choose one, the big shot would be defense, and then you pour the NIL money wherever else it needs to be. Because
is there a young defensive coordinator that would fit that mold, Reagan?
I don't. Not that I know. People may know better than me. If we had the money and it's possible, I would go after Jim Knowles with every single resource you possibly
I like
have.
Greg. What's his Gasparilla at Tulane as well. Actually, I think he's somebody that we should be fairly interested in. Oh yeah, Logan said Benedetto. He's at Northern
Logie.
NIU.
We're not saying. I don't think Jason's saying that Steve Lutz isn't winning, but he just hasn't won any big games yet.
No,
big
sure.
games. Yeah.
And also, Jared, you're speaking facts about Todd Monken. That's exactly why I would want Todd Monken here. So thank you for proving my point.
Obviously, if we could go and get Todd Monken and Jim Knowles, you're talking about possibly winning a national championship. I'm not even joking with you. Because
if you could back that with a little bit of NIL,
yeah, seriously, that's not even like a joke.
Go pay, get some offensive linemen and a couple of safeties and maybe a top level corner. Yeah, you might be right. I think we have enough skill players on offense if we could.
And like Jared said, man, getting Todd Monken would be ginormous because he's coached in the league. He's coached at OSU. He's coached at Georgia. He knows what it takes to get to the league. And some players, I get it. If you get offered NIL money, go take it. But some players also, they don't only care about, they want to make it to the league. They want to make more money. And so Todd Monken knows what it takes to get there. So
I just got a name, guys.
Bryant attracted to OSU if Todd Monken was here.
Bryant Haynes from Indiana. What a job he's done this year as defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
That could be someone to
Isn't
watch.
that a lateral move for him, though? Indiana to Oklahoma State.
No. Oklahoma State has way more resources than Indiana.
No way.
You're going to be in the college football playoff.
That doesn't matter. So is Boise State. It doesn't.
I don't know if you leave Boise State to come here right now.
Oh, their coordinators are already pretty much gone. So,
well. So this is probably a good time to kind of shift gears once again here before we wrap this whole thing up. Whenever you're looking at this next season, I think one of the biggest things that should give everybody hope is what we just watched out of Arizona State, right? I think that in and of itself should keep everybody pretty pumped up and pretty excited about the season that we're potentially looking at. You can go from the bottom to the top in 1 year if the hires are right and it's done the right way. Just like you can go from whatever your bank account is now to something much better with all the NFL Cowboys out here helping you do it. FanDuel is going to give you the opportunity to capitalize on your monetary gain situation. I know hammering the over with Oklahoma State hasn't worked out in our favor this season, but it's okay because we've got guys like Jalen Warren and Tylan Wallace out here helping us. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 back in bonus bets if it's a winner. When you get that tingling sensation in your loins in the middle of the game, you can now check out the latest stats, view the live play-by-play, and so much more from the same page where you place your bets from. Make sure that you get started today. Have your opportunity to get that 150 bones back in bonus bets if your first $5 bet is a winner. Make sure that you go to FanDuel.com to get started today. Do not waste that tingling sensation in your loins that the game's about to change in your favor ever again. Get with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, fellas, we're going to bring it in for the home stretch here. I think, wholeheartedly admit that one of the most fun parts about watching what Arizona State went through is they began the season 9th or 16th in the conference, right? Preseason, last place. And what they've done with Killing Dillingham, they got a transfer quarterback out of Michigan State and Sam Leavitt. And he's obviously been paramount to a lot of their success. It starts and ends with Cam Scattaboo, of course. But Arizona State is proof for not only Oklahoma State country, but every team in the conference that where you ended the last season and where you begin preseason in the transfer era, it doesn't matter anymore. Roster turnover is going to be so crazy picking conference champions, especially in the Big 12 from here on out, it's never going to get any easier. Whenever you guys look, now that this whole Mike Gundy thing is done, what are you most excited about looking forward to next season? We'll start with you, Jason. What are you most excited about now that this is out of the way?
Well, I mean, there's still a lot of work left to be done. We still have to.
Yeah, true.
I'm sure there's still some positional coaches that are going to be gone. In my opinion, I think Hammer and Wozniak are probably the only ones that might be 100% safe. We bring in new coordinators. They may want to bring in some guys. But anyway, the thing that I'm most excited about is getting back to our winning ways. I've been a lifelong Oklahoma State fan. I grew up, born and bred in Norman, Oklahoma. Always been an Oklahoma State fan. My uncle is one. Just lifelong Oklahoma State fan. This was the first year, and it just so happened to be my daughter's freshman year in Stillwater, that I was financially and time commitment able to go to almost every single home game in Stillwater. We did not make the Tech game just because I was kind of over it. But just get back to our winning ways. We filled the stadium all season long. Even the Tech game, people were still coming. The Arizona State game, the weather was crappy. People were still coming. Just continue to win ball games. Keep this younger fan base engaged. Make some splash hires. And let's try to get to Arlington next year. I'm not saying that we have to be successful, but let's give it our best shot. If we can go 9-3, 10-2 next year and have a legit chance towards the end of the season to play a meaningful game that might or might not get us to Arlington, I think the fan base would be energized again.
I completely agree. Trent, what are you thinking, boss?
It's hard to say right now. I guess ask me after we hire the new OC and DC what I think about the situation. But like Jason said, I think there's a lot of work still to be done. Obviously, what I want to see next season is just see us more competitive and, bring out some exciting plays on the offensive side of the ball that we haven't seen in a while, not just, vanilla bland. But yeah, I just want to, like I said, I want to see that fire in Gundy. If Gundy's, firing on all cylinders, it's so fun to watch, guys, whether it's a win or a loss. Like OSU football is so fun to watch, and that's what I've grown, and that's what we've grown and been accustomed to for a while now. Like, a super exciting offense, a defense that gets hella turnovers. Like it's fun to watch Oklahoma State football, and can't say this year was that fun to watch. So I just want to get back to that. Whether it's a win or loss, whatever our record is, next year I just want to see the boys having fun and see some exciting stuff out there on the field. That's really all I care about.
Reagan, what are you thinking? Hit us.
It depends on what we do, really, from here. Coordinators are going to mean everything, but I do think it's actually quite telling that we haven't had a whole lot of offense into the portal, if any, that I can think of that matter a lot. I'm not going to say why I feel that way, but I think generally speaking, if you can retain, especially your young guys, I'm so excited to see what Zane Flores is capable of finally. Maybe even Smith. We'll see what that QB battle looks like. That'll be pretty fun. I think generally speaking, I'm hopefully optimistic for the future, and whatever Gundy pulls together, we'll see. I think that I know you guys are saying 9 wins would be happy. I'd be cool if we just went 8-4, and we're hopeful. That's really it. So that's kind of my perspective on it.
Question, Cody.
Yeah,
I have a question. So when we're talking about an offensive coordinator hire, is it going to be a big deal if it's somebody that – because the hot trend is the coordinators want to bring in their quarterback now, right?
Yeah.
So we go find somebody that wants to bring their quarterback with them. Are we going to be willing to let that happen and let either Zane or Malake walk out the door because they're bringing in somebody that's potentially around their same class? You can't have Garrett, Zane, Malake, and a guy that's coming in that already knows the system. 2 of those guys will probably leave.
Well, yeah, if you bring somebody else in with a coordinator, then yeah, surely one of them is gone, and I think you do potentially run the risk of a couple of them being gone if you do that. So I think for me, it would be slightly contingent upon what year is he, right? Is he a 5th-year senior or is he a sophomore? Because what Arizona State got out of Sam Leavitt being essentially a redshirt freshman worked out perfectly for them because they still got him for 3 to 4 more years. So if it was something like that, I think I would be okay with losing one of the quarterbacks that we do have. But if it's a 5th-year senior guy, unless he's going to just blow the needle out of the water, I would rather not mess with it, personally.
I was going to say, I think a quarterback leaves.
Too, by the way.
A quarterback, I think a quarterback leaves next year regardless. So
look, he's not coming to Stillwater. I'm just don't want fans to think that this is me saying that. Maybe he does, but I don't think he is going to at this point in time. Zach Robinson doesn't give you that problem. He doesn't have a quarterback.
Yeah, there's Todd Monken.
He's from the NFL. And then there's Todd Monken doesn't give you that problem. Baby. I think you go get an NFL guy. Truly and honestly, I think you go get an NFL guy. But that's just my opinion.
There you go, Jared. Stick up for our guy, Garrett Rangel. I think, that'll be interesting who the offensive coordinator is. Like, realistically, it's going to kind of determine who might have the front-running capabilities for next season if OC doesn't bring a quarterback with him, right? Because I think different systems are going to highlight different quarterbacks. Thankfully, all three of our guys are very athletic. So from a mobile perspective, I think we're going to be fine. Yeah, Arizona State, I think, provides a lot of inspiration. For me, to kind of put a bow on it, what I'm most excited for is just the tenacity, right? Jason, you mentioned Steve Lutz. I think that's been the biggest difference this season from a basketball standpoint is people are diving all over the floor more. You're getting bloody noses. They're jumping over chairs. They're jumping over the benches. That's kind of what I want to get back to from Cowboy football. Having guys give up on plays in the middle of the game and walk on the field, that was so maddening to watch this year. And for that alone, it's unconscionable to think that some of these coaches are going to come back. I think that the clearing of everybody out, a overhaul of the entire staff is a good thing. And I think that should light the fire under everybody. And Reagan, I think you hit on it as well, talking about the youth, the younger guys, right? The Restore Order crew. That group of guys, I think, is going to be instrumental in us getting to where we need to get. The building blocks aren't going to be all of the upperclassmen and the seniors anymore. They're going to have to be some of the younger guys, and I'm excited for that. The last thing I'll ask you all before we skedaddle off here, do you think it's imperative that we name somebody within the next 48 hours because of the transfer portal, or do you just let the portal be what it is and we name our coaches as they come?
Go ahead, Reagan.
You need to get them now. I don't know if I'm lagging out. Sorry, guys. I think I'm lagging out. Bit. But you need to go get them now. That's my honest opinion. I think they need to be within the next 48 hours before the portal opens. It assures your current players. You see the whole hashtag going around, by the way, Restore Order 25. Fantastic retention campaign name. Keep them. Mm-hmm. Get a coordinator that they're excited about. And doesn't even necessarily have to be the best, but a guy that they're excited about and want to play for and want to learn about while the portal is open. I think it's really imperative you get that done.
And I think you do owe it to specifically the quarterbacks because of what we just talked about. If you're going to bring an offensive coordinator from the collegiate ranks, it's going to want to bring his own quarterback in. I think you owe it to those three guys that are still going to be here next year, Garrett, Zane, and Malake, to be able to hop in the portal and have the best opportunity that they have to go play somewhere. It's very imperative in my opinion. But I will say this, the longer the offensive coordinator search goes on and the longer we go without hearing a name for the offensive coordinator position, if we get to Christmas and still don't have one, there's a huge possibility it's going to be Zach Robinson.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
So you think the longer it goes, the better it is? Okay.
Zach's sitting first in his division right now. He's going to be more than likely be in the playoffs.
Oh, true. That is actually a very, very.
I didn't think about that, actually. That's a really, really valid point of view.
The longer it goes, I think we'll hire a defensive coordinator like that. Okay. The longer the offensive deal goes, if we get to Christmas, that means they're probably in deep talks with Zach Robinson.
I would love that one. I think all of it would.
If Zach Robinson got announced head coach, I think the NIL fund, everyone would say, forget your Christmas presents, kids. We're paying Oklahoma State.
The fourth quarterback is Garrett Wilson, 6'2", 225 pounds. He's an Okie. He's very athletic. He's not your typical walk-on, but it'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out. Trent, do you feel like a timeline is important here? Because I'm kind of with both Jason and Reagan to some degree. I would like to have at least one of them named like tomorrow, because if you name a big-time DC or a big-time OC, that should prevent some people from entering the portal Monday. Or do you think the timeline isn't that big of a deal? Because if they enter the portal Monday and then we announce on Wednesday and they love the hire, they might
can hop out. Yeah.
Okay. Is that kind of your sentiment as well, Trent?
I see both sides, and I agree with both sides. I think you're kind of it's kind of risky business to wait it out to see. I agree. I think we're going to hire a DC ASAP. I think the OC might take a little bit longer, whether it's Zach Robinson or whoever it may be. But I can see both sides. It's like you want to get someone because you don't want your best players to leave, but at the same time, you can gamble and say, okay, they can hop in, but maybe they don't find a school and they can hop out. But that's the question. Are they going to find a school before you get your guy? So that's hard.
Trent, what would be the more important thing in the portal to go get to? I say we're the most in immediate need of some upgrades on the defensive side of the ball. I think we have a lot of skill positions on this roster. So if we hire a defensive coordinator and let him go to work and get in the portal and go find some guys and say, hey, XYZ player, you're not a fit for this program. You need to hop in the portal and go find somewhere to play and go find his guys and get that defense settled. I think whoever the offensive coordinator is can use the pieces that we have and be successful.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I just, it seems like players nowadays are so quick to hop in the portal instead of like waiting it out, regardless whether it be new coaching or, see what the role is going to be for the next season. So it's kind of playing Russian roulette. Either way you look at it, it's all on the players. And so, yeah, I feel like it puts us in a better position if we get our guys within the next 48 hours. But then I agree with you 100%. I think the longer it takes, that could be a really good thing for Oklahoma State, especially if you're getting an NFL guy, like, someone successful. Just, for example, Zach Robinson or Todd Monkey, both of them, their teams are very successful this year. So, it could take quite a while. But I don't remember, Cody, remind me, how long is the transfer portal open for?
Who knows anymore, dude?
It's kind of indefinite, really, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a closing window, but you can still enter.
Andrew,
Andrew's pretty funny. He does need to learn what a sweatshirt is, though. This is a short sleeve, homie. This is a T-shirt with a hood on it. It's called a hoodie, not a sweatshirt. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for calling me out.
Andrew, what do you say? Who is our best players for next season? I think I'm more confident in our defense. Next year, the players on defense than I am on offense, just because we lose so much production from the offensive side of the ball. I'm very excited about Fields. That needs to be like our guy that we go after. I think he proved himself big time this year.
Is King going to stay around?
Who?
Sotomora King, or however you say his name.
Oh, Io Shotomite King. I flip and hope so.
He's a big-bodied kid. He looks good. We have a couple really good quarterbacks on the roster. We have receivers on the roster, young tight end on the roster. Like, I think our offensive skill players are okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's rocket science, right? We need help on the offensive line. We need help on the defensive line, and we need more depth at the cornerback spot. And
Let me ask you guys this: how has Dickey not been fired yet?
I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be retained on the staff, just not as a positional coach.
I think he's going to be an analyst, but yeah.
Why would he do that? He can go become an O-line coach somewhere else if he wanted.
Maybe he don't want to. Maybe he likes.
It's funny you guys say that because one of my good friends is a huge diehard K-State fan. Him and his family have season tickets, and I told him, I was like, after the news came out about Dunn and Nardo, I was like, yeah, Dickey's next. We're gonna send him packing back to Manhattan. So get ready. He's like, HELL hockey sticks. We don't want him. Good luck.
Wow.
So now I do want to address what Andrew just said right there. I think that's a lazy take. I think that's a very easy way to pawn off what happened on defense this year. I know Cody was close with Brian Nardo. I liked the guy. I think he was good for the program. If it had worked out, Mike Gundy would have looked like a damn genius. Yeah. But his schemes were terrible in the Utah game, in the West Virginia game, and in the Texas Tech game. His schemes cost us several touchdowns. We get in the BYU game, we get them to 4th and 12 or 4th and 8 on that final drive. We set no edge, let the quarterback run right around the end and pick up a first down. We did that 1,000 times this year. And then in the Tech game, it's 14-14 going into the half. All we have to do is stop them from scoring a 70-yard touchdown, and we zero blitz and bring everybody but a linebacker and put him one-on-one down the field with a better skill player, and he throws it over our head. Like, those are scheme problems. And I think over time,
honestly, I think
players just give up.
I think the best performance from Nardo was the Utah game. Honestly, I mean,
I think it was the Arkansas game.
So bad. Well,
we let up like 600 yards.
Yeah, I don't know about Arkansas.
But we also only give up 10 points after halftime, and we went into overtime. We only give up 10 points after half.
Guys, yeah, dude, Jason's right. Nardo's my dude. But I'll even admit, schematically, he was way.
He was just an overset a little bit.
Well, you know what? That's not his fault. If you're a D3 or NAI guy and you got Mike Gundy calling you up and say, "Hey, I want you to be," you're gonna take the position. You know, I mean, so can you blame the guy? But regardless, like I said, I tweeted it out too. Brian Nardo as a man is a great man. Love the guy. Love his morals. I think he's a player's coach 100%. All of his players talk great about him, and I really hope that he can bounce back and get on his feet and make his way. You know, after he learns a little bit more, a couple more years, figures it out. I hope he can make it back to Division I and make a name for himself. I'm really rooting for him and his family. So,
hey, I will admit, that somewhat selfishly, I am happy to some degree that Brian Nardo is going to have the opportunity to find a new spot, and that is going to help me professionally, right? It is going to give me more connections at other places, so it's not all a loss on my half. But everybody, I greatly appreciate you all swinging in here. We haven't done this in a while. It was a ton of fun. Let everybody know how they can find you. I know everybody, Angry Pete, tell them about it. How do they get a hold of you, and how can they see what you got going, buddy?
My X handle is @CowboyImage. I go by Angry Pete. Most of you probably heard about some of my spaces from yesterday and some of the wild and crazy shiznizzle I was saying. Most of that was conjecture and just being funny. A lot of that was me being pretty upset. And I may have had a few adult beverages in the process of those spaces last night. But if I offended you last night, if you think I attacked you personally, that wasn't the deal. I'm very passionate about Oklahoma State athletics, specifically football. And right, wrong, or indifferent, I have an undying respect and loyalty to Mike Gundy. He's been the coach there my entire adult life. Everybody wants to point out his flaws. We've won one conference championship since he's been here. How many did we win in the 20 years before he got here? That's all I'm saying. How many 10-win seasons we have in the 20 years before he got here? That's just the way I feel about it. I think Mike Gundy not necessarily has a lifetime pass or can do whatever he wants to pass, but hasn't gotten egregious yet. I don't think we should have ever been in the situation we were in the last 48 hours, 36 hours, whatever it was. So, but yeah, hit me up on X, Angry Pete @CowboyImage. Hop on our spaces. We like to chop it up.
Yes, sir. Everybody needs to go follow the Angry Pistol Pete, Jason Sherman, Trent. What do you got going on for the fine folks out here, and how can they track you down, buddy?
Twitter handle, TrillFamThought, a.k.a. Sad Oklahoma State fan. That's where you can find me at. If you work in the construction business, you need any storefront, curtain wall, skylight systems, hit your boy up. That's my line of business. You can
there you go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we're about it. But, yeah, catch me.
I didn't know we were doing shameless plugs, Trent.
Hey,
I like that.
I was gonna hold up one of my business cards, but I don't want everybody having my phone number. But yeah, follow me. I mean, find me on Twitter. You know, I'm on there with all the other crazy OSU fans, and we chop it up. A lot of us do, and we have a good time. And let's have a great next couple.
And if y'all know Sean Bennett on X, he owes this man money.
He does. Make sure y'all go give Sean Bennett a hard time.
Yeah, if he talks about any kind of money on there, tell him to pay me my money. So,
all right, Mr. Laggy Mustache.
Hey, here we are.
Tell the fine folks out here not only how they can find you, how they can track you down, how they can read your articles, and maybe what is the next article everybody should pay attention to out of you, buddy.
Yeah, you can Twitter handle OK State Mart. Most of you probably know about me now, but articles Defiant Takes Football. Reason it's called that, by the way, some people question that, but the reason it's called that is against the norms of what typical reporting is, and actually saying the things that no one else is willing to say was the idea behind the name. Nothing right now, but if I ever hear anything about coordinators, you'll be the first to know through there. But real quick, I just want to say with Jason, I kind of agree with him a lot on Mike Gundy, but I do think that some humility was needed here. I think that both sides got it, actually. Maybe some compromise was found. And he said, how many have we won in the last 20 years? Well, I'll tell you, I tweeted about this. All the way back to 1953, they've won as many as Mike Gundy did in the last 20 years. So congratulations.
Preach.
But my point in the matter is, yes, he needed some humility. Yes, I think the university needs to step up and realize what today's college football is, and I think everyone can help each other a little bit more. So that's that.
Sweet. I greatly appreciate it. Does anybody have anything else to throw out here before we skedaddle on off of here?
Yes,
Do
sir.
we have any more cool comments?
What's up?
Do we have any more cool comments over here? Oh, yeah. Wet blanket, that was me. RJ Young, that was definitely me he was talking about. I said last night in the space that I was not paying another dime in tuition if they fired Mike Gundy and I was going to make her transfer to OU. That was 1,000% me. Hey, Jim Schraber called me out yesterday, too. He said, there's a guy in the space that said Mike Gundy said he's drink and drive 1,000 times. He said, I'm drinking and driving right now.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that's great.
You made it big. I had someone hit me up about your comment, I guess.
That's great, dude.
So
Nicely done, brother. Nicely done. Well, guys, perhaps we should do this after the OC and DC and all the kind of coaches get named so we can kind of discuss what our thoughts on everybody, because I'm sure it's going to be exciting, but like we mentioned a little bit earlier, if it is too underwhelming, some of us are going to lose our ever-loving minds, especially after all of this chaos.
If the fan base has to Google their names, they might go burn Mike Gundy's house down.
There you go.
Believe it or not, guys, the next 5 years of Oklahoma State football is very critical with all the realignment and things going on. No one knows what's going to happen in the future with college football and all the realignment. So, we need to, Cody has stated it before, we need to stay good. We need to be relevant. We need people talking about us. We need media talking about us, everybody. So I think, like I said, OCDC are going to be some good gets after everything that we've been through in the last 48 hours. It has to be. It has to be. So we'll see. But, yeah, for sure, it's going to be exciting. But we'll most definitely chop it back up whenever we figure out who those guys are going to be.
I love it. All right, fellas. Well, hey, I appreciate you today. You guys go enjoy your evening. Go watch some more football. Pop a top, have some fun. I appreciate you all. We'll definitely be doing this again. To all of you fun folks out here, appreciate you stopping in here. We don't get to do enough of these live scenarios. It was good to see that Mike Gundy did find a way to get this thing done. We need to see Mike Gundy go out the right way. 3-9 is not the right way for Mike Gundy to be going out. It'll be nice to see the coordinators and the transition to build more excitement for the next season. That's all we're going to have for this one right here. Pay attention over the next week. We're going to have some guests that I think you guys are definitely going to want to pay attention to. Until the next one, that's all we're going to have for this one right here. As always, I love you. God bless. Go Pokes. Thank you for tuning in to make this your live stop on a Saturday night. All righty, y'all. God bless. Go Pokes. Later, my taters.